time to tune in. Now another sports center, it's a movement.
Now, this is always loaded because there's so many people who can run a. You start to see it's a lot more common 4-4 all the time for 40, 4-3, or you have a guys that he may slid to 4-5, 4 early 4-6s, but the dude can jump insanely high. There's always a lot of talent in every draft. What do you feel about this wide receiver group coming in, and who are some draft gems?
Yeah, so there are some big time sleepers in this class, and then there's some big time risers as well. I'll start with kind of risers, and before I get to gems, Jameson Williams, the receiver out of Alabama, has come out of nowhere and been a huge story for Alabama this season, and he's part of the reason why they have a chance to make the college football playoff. He's kind of add that. Take the top off the type of receiver for Alabama. Really haven't had that since really Jalen Waddle was healthy. So he definitely brings that element to the game. And then, he just can do a little bit of everything, yak yardage, win the 50-50 passes. And you saw how crucial he was to Alabama's offense when he went out the game against Auburn. They couldn't do anything until that final drive. So he's become extremely important. Obviously, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, probably the best one-two punch in the college football level. I do think people are underrating Olave a little bit. I think people think because he doesn't have, the top end speed, the top end burst, he's just not as athletically gifted as some of these other guys. He kind of flies under the radar. But I think he still is going to be a first rounder when it's all said and done. Obviously, Treylon Burks as well. But in terms of sleepers or gems, I should say, this class is loaded. And when a couple Mountain West receivers kind of stick to my mind in terms of big time sleepers. One being Devin Tompkins, the Utah State receiver. He's 5'8", 170, very, very small type of receiver, but he's incredibly explosive. And we saw Tutu Atwell from Louisville last year. He went in the end of the second round. So that just tells me that players like that, they have a role in the NFL. You can get selected. It doesn't, and no longer matters about the size at the receiver position. It's about how fast you are. Can you create separation? And can you catch the football and make things happen with the ball in your hands? And he checks all three boxes for me, and he showed for NFL scouts. I don't think he's going to be he's probably going to be a borderline day 3 UDFA type of player. His testing is going to be extremely important, but I think he's going to be a return guy at the next level. He's going to be a slot player that you get the ball to him 5-10 times a game, and he can make a splash play for you. So he's definitely one that sticks in my mind. Another one from the Mountain West is Romeo Doubs from Nevada. And him and Carson Strong have made one of the best 1-2 punch tandems in college football. And obviously they play late at night. They play, they're on the West Coast. So not a lot of people get to see them play live. But Romeo Doubs is improved a ton. For me, he was more of a day 3 flyer type of pick where you pick him because he's fast and can stretch the field vertically. But he's expanded his game this year. He's kind of worked on that route running, being able to get in and out of breaks with fluidity and making things happen with the ball in his hands. And I think it's going to be important for him to continue to take those steps. And I think he's going to test really well at his pro day. But I do want to see him continue to improve and continue to learn the nuances of the game. But his future is very bright, and I think he's going to make himself a lot of money at the NFL level. So those are two guys that immediately come to mind. In terms of other players, some of these names are people kind of know, but I think are still going to be really solid players. David Bell out of Purdue, he's a really solid player that doesn't have overwhelming traits, doesn't have overwhelming speed, but he's one of those players that he just finds ways to get open. And he's not an extremely crafty route runner, but he does just enough to get open. He can catch the 50-50 passes, and he has some ability after the catch. So I think he's going to be an incredibly valuable second or third round pick in the draft. And then one final name that I will drop, and I think the name is escaping me now, but Bell is definitely a good one as well.
Yeah, and it's nice because he's coming right off the toes of Rondale Moore and stuff like that. And it's great. I had Rondale on the show earlier this year and stuff. And after we were done recording, he mentioned David Bell, like a name to take a look out for. So and then I kind of like, obviously a bunch of stuff happened between now and then I start watching these highlights, man, and he's breaking tackles and he's elusive, and it's like Buff Lil man.
I have a receiver question for you too. I don't mean to like throw it out there, but I'm a U fan as well, right? So what do you think about Charleston Rambo? Like what do you think about him if you've got the opportunity to look at him a little bit?
Yeah, Rambo is definitely kind of that mold of he can stretch the field vertically, but I also do think that he can do a little bit more than what the offense is asking him. He can create after the catch. He can find ways to get open, but I also think they kind of underutilize him. And I think, kind of the thing with receivers is that you don't know what you have until you have him in the building. And I think he's going to be one of those players that didn't really necessarily produce at the highest level at the college level, but I do think he can produce even more at the NFL level. And we've seen that a lot with Tennessee receivers in particular. Like there's been a few Tennessee receivers over the years and Tennessee players in general that have kind of underproduced because of the scheme they're in based on their circumstances. One in particular, like Marquez Callaway, Josh Palmer, both come to mind. They're both on NFL rosters right now. I think Charleston Rambo is going to fit in kind of that mold. Big time recruit, didn't necessarily get the usage you would think from him. But I think once he gets to the NFL level and gets there, I think you're going to find him, in more sets, kind of using that inside out versatility. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about the receiver position is, and that's why so many UDFA receivers can make things happen, is because they get overlooked because of these big time names, but they can end up being on the roster, continue to work their way up and be a big time receiver. So I mean, Cooper Kupp is a big example, not a big time school guy, but look at him now. He's the best receiver on the Rams. And, you had players like Robert Woods over the years. You got Odell Beckham on the roster now, and you had Deshaun Jackson, but he's continued to up his play, and it didn't matter what school he came from. But back to Charleston Rambo, I think he's going to be a much better pro than he was a college player.
I agree. Everything you said made me so happy to hear.
Turn 100 for the touchdown, King Crown, gain inside, leading your town, hit you faster than the sound, bad boy, throw it down, yeah, I'm ill, not my will, don't Copperfield, fill the house, listen to the roaring crowd, drop a light, calm it down, Heisman, all the haters mouth, superhero hit them wow, packing more action than bing, boom, bam, pow, touchdown for the win, we live, subscribe right now.